I found myself teetering on the precipice of a digital abyss, the dark web. It was a realm that lay hidden beneath layers of encryption and anonymity, a place where the laws of the surface web were twisted and contorted into something unrecognizable. Fueled by morbid curiosity and a sense of trepidation, I delved into this clandestine realm, unaware of the chilling encounters that awaited me. The gateway to the dark web was a labyrinth of Tor browsers and virtual private networks, designed to conceal identities and shield activities from prying eyes. With every click, I felt like I was crossing into forbidden territory, leaving behind the comforting familiarity of the surface web. As I navigated through the labyrinthine network of hidden websites, I was struck by the stark contrast. The dark web's design was intentionally crude and garish, a stark departure from the sleek interfaces of its mainstream counterpart. It was within the digital shadows that I stumbled upon a forum with a name that sent a shiver down my spine: Whispers of the Abyss. The threads within were a testament to the perverse curiosity that drew others to this digital underworld. Anonymity emboldened users to discuss the unthinkable: illegal trades, bizarre rituals, and discussions that seemed to revel in the darkest aspects of human nature. As I perused the forum, a user named Dark Echoes caught my attention. Their posts were cryptic, their words a mixture of warning and invitation. In one thread, they spoke of a ritual, an incantation that could supposedly grant the summoner an audience with an entity from beyond the veil. The comments that followed were a mix of skepticism, fascination, and fear. Compelled by a mixture of morbid curiosity and disbelief, I reached out to Dark Echoes via a private message. The response was swift, their words carrying an air of both caution and intrigue. They detailed the ritual, an unsettling dance of words and actions that seemed to defy the boundaries of reality. It was a ritual that demanded a room shrouded in darkness, a single candle, and whispered incantations that resonated with an otherworldly power. Despite the unsettling nature of Dark Echoes' claims, a sense of curiosity tugged at the edges of my thoughts. Was this a mere digital charade, a collective delusion of users caught in the web of the dark web's enigma? Or was there a kernel of truth buried within the cryptic messages? As the night deepened, I found myself standing in a room illuminated solely by the flickering flame of a single candle. The air was heavy with a sense of anticipation, a feeling that I was on the cusp of something beyond my understanding. With a mixture of trepidation and fascination, I began to recite the incantations, the words feeling like an alien tongue on my lips. The room seemed to pulse with an unsettling energy, shadows dancing on the walls as if in response to the incantations. For a moment, doubt crept in, and I questioned the sanity of my actions. But just as I was about to abandon the ritual, a voice, an echo from the depths of the digital void, resonated in my mind. "What do you seek, mortal?" The words were cold and distant, a mixture of curiosity and something darker, something that sent a shiver down my spine. It was as if the ritual had opened a channel to an entity that existed on the fringes of reality, a being that seemed both intangible and overwhelmingly present. The entity's questions lingered in the air, its presence a weight that pressed down on my very consciousness. In that moment, I found myself voicing a wish, a desire that had always been buried deep within me, a wish that seemed too impossible to ever come true. The entity's response was a whisper that seemed to emanate from the walls themselves, a whisper that carried with it a sense of amusement and malevolence, granted at a price. Before I could react, darkness enveloped the room, folding in on itself like a vortex. Images flashed before my eyes, scenes of the past, the present, and an uncertain future. The entity's touch seemed to penetrate my thoughts, its presence a force that tore away the layers of my consciousness. When the darkness receded, I was left breathless, the weight of its touch lingering like a brand on my soul. The room was once again illuminated by the candle's wavering flame, but the air had shifted, carrying with it a sense of foreboding. The voice returned, its tone dripping with smug satisfaction. "Your wish has been granted. Remember, all choices have consequences." In the days that followed, I lived with the consequences of my encounter with the entity. The reality I knew had been altered, the threads of fate rewoven by forces I couldn't comprehend. The consequences of my desire rippled through my life, affecting those around me in ways I could never have predicted. I found myself treading once more, driven by a curiosity that would ultimately thrust me into a web of danger and desperation. Navigating through encrypted websites and hidden forums, I stumbled upon a marketplace known as the Obsidian Bazaar. Its virtual stalls were adorned with a sinister array of offerings, illegal substances, contraband items, and dark services that dared to defy the boundaries of legality. The allure of the forbidden drew me in, and I found myself immersed in a world that seemed to pulse with its own malevolent energy. It was in this digital bazaar that I encountered a user named Shadow Vendor. Their posts were cryptic, their language dripping with an air of secrecy. As I perused their offerings, I stumbled upon a listing that caught my attention, an offer of illegal substances and contraband items, packaged in discreet parcels that promised to evade even the most vigilant authorities. Curiosity mingled with apprehension as I considered the ramifications of such an encounter. The risks were undeniable, the consequences dire if caught. Yet the temptation of indulging in the forbidden was a weight that tugged at my conscience. With a mixture of trepidation and fascination, I sent a message to Shadow Vendor, inquiring about the details of their illicit offerings. The response was swift, a digital whisper that carried with it a sense of the clandestine. Shadow Vendor detailed the selection of substances and items available, their descriptions painted in shades of secrecy. The allure was undeniable, but as I weighed the potential repercussions, a creeping sense of dread gripped my thoughts. As I debated the decision, another message arrived from Shadow Vendor, an offer of a discounted package, a tempting incentive to tip the scales in favor of indulgence. But alongside the offer came a chilling caveat, a demand for a swift decision, a choice that held the weight of a ticking time bomb. In a moment of uncertainty, I declined the offer, cutting the digital connection before the gravity of my actions fully settled in. Days passed, and I began to believe that I had managed to extricate myself from the clutches of the digital underworld. But then, an email arrived, one that sent a jolt of terror coursing through my veins. The message was brief, its content simple and chilling. "You shouldn't have refused." Panic surged within me as I read those words, a sense of vulnerability that extended beyond the digital realm. My thoughts raced as I pondered the implications of the message. Had Shadow Vendor somehow obtained my personal information? My gaze shifted to the window, my heart pounding as if every shadow held the specter of danger. And then, a knock at the door shattered the silence, the sound a chilling echo of the threat that now loomed over me. With trepidation, I approached the door, my mind a whirlwind of fear and paranoia. As the door creaked open, my eyes met the gaze of a stranger, a figure clad in shadow, their face obscured by darkness. In that chilling moment, realization struck. This was the price of refusing the dark web's offerings. The realm of secrecy and anonymity had spilled into my reality, a sinister presence that held my fate in its hands. The figure's voice was a cold whisper, a reminder that the consequences of my decisions were far-reaching. "You thought you could walk away? You thought the shadows would let you escape?" I stood paralyzed, trapped between the dread of the digital realm and the terror of the physical world. The figure's words were a chilling reminder that the dark web's influence extended beyond pixels and code. It reached into the lives of those who dared to dabble in its forbidden offerings. As the figure withdrew into the night, the weight of my actions settled over me like a suffocating shroud. The encounter with Shadow Vendor had exposed the fragility of the boundary between the digital and the real, a boundary that, once crossed, could lead to a descent into darkness and danger. The dark web's secrets were not just virtual curiosities, they were portals to a realm where the price of curiosity could be paid in fear, paranoia, and a relentless pursuit that extended beyond the confines of the screen. After my previous encounter with the dark web's eerie offerings, a newfound sense of caution had taken root within me. The whispers of forbidden knowledge still echoed in my mind, a constant reminder of the price paid for curiosity. But one night, temptation once again got the better of me, and I found myself venturing into the encrypted maze that was the dark web. The site I stumbled upon was a den of enigma called the Veiled Marketplace. Its pages were a mosaic of items and services that defied explanation, an auction of arcane artifacts, whispered contracts, and offers that seemed to promise the unattainable. My heart raced as I scrolled through the listings, a mix of fascination and unease knotting in my chest. It was in the midst of this digital bazaar that I received a private message from an anonymous user. The message was simple, yet chilling. "Your curiosity has caught our attention. We have an offer you won't want to refuse." My pulse quickened as I read those words, a sense of dread mingling with curiosity. My fingers trembled as I clicked on the link, leading me to a message that outlined an offer that seemed too good to be true. It was as if the user had read my deepest desires and crafted an offer tailor-made to lure me in. An offer that would grant me riches, influence, and everything I had ever dreamed of. But unlike my previous encounter, the memory of the nightmarish alternate reality still haunted me. The whispers of that dark realm served as a chilling reminder that the dark web's promises came with a sinister price. As much as the offer tantalized me, I couldn't shake the feeling that accepting it would unleash a cascade of consequences beyond my control. With a mix of fear and resolve, I typed my response, a refusal of the offer. A wave of relief washed over me as I hit the send button, as if I had narrowly escaped a trap set in digital pixels. I disconnected from the dark web, vowing to keep my distance from its dangerous allure. But in the days that followed, the comfort of my decision began to erode. Shadows seemed to loom closer, and every creak of the floorboard sent a shiver down my spine. Paranoia became my constant companion, and the boundaries between the digital world and reality grew thin. It was on a stormy night that the threat lurking in the shadows became all too real. A faint tapping on my window shattered the silence, and my heart raced as I cautiously approached. Through the rain-smeared glass, I saw a figure that seemed to materialize from the darkness itself. Panic surged within me as recognition dawned. It was a figure clad in black, face obscured, a menacing presence that seemed to defy the laws of reality. In that chilling moment, the memories of the dark web's sinister promises flooded back. The refusal of the offer had not erased the consequences. It had merely ignited the rage of those who dwelled in the digital shadows. The figure at my window was a grim reminder that the dark web's power extended beyond the confines of the virtual realm, that its malevolent grasp could breach the walls of my own home. As I stared into the abyss of the figure's gaze, a sickening realization settled over me. I was being hunted. The dark web's tendrils had reached into my reality, and the price of refusing its offer was a descent into a nightmare that had transcended the digital realm. In a desperate bid to escape the looming threat, I turned to the tools at my disposal. The phone call to the police was met with skepticism, their assurances doing little to quell the rising terror within me. As I fortified my home and waited for the figure to disappear, the hours stretched into an eternity, each tick of the clock a reminder of the inexorable passage of time. When morning broke, the figure was gone, leaving behind a trail of dread and unease. The ordeal had exposed the grim truth. The dark web's influence was not confined to the digital space, and its enigmatic forces could seep into reality itself. As I stared at the rain-soaked window, I knew that the world of the dark web was a Pandora's box of malevolence and temptation, a realm where the boundary between curiosity and catastrophe was as fragile as a whisper in the wind.